Hey there folks, welcome to Silent Film Saturday, episode number 54, the season 3 finale. And to conclude this third season, I wanted to give a shout out to Harry Benson and Joe DePerry and anyone else who wanted to see this film get reviewed. This took a while, partly because I wanted a Blu-ray of the film, and I got the Blu-ray. So shout out to Harry and Joe and anyone else who wanted this film on Silent Film Saturday. Harry asked from it's sometime in season 1 over almost a year ago, so yeah, finally we're here, so hopefully this review will be satisfying. And this is actually really a cool Blu-ray, so let me show you guys this. This is from the Cohen Film Collection. They've been putting out some nice Blu-rays, and they have some of the Rohauer stuff. They actually have a nice print of The Thief of Baghdad with Douglas Fairbanks, and I would recommend checking that out. It's a really great Blu-ray. This is of D.W. Griffith's Intolerance. It's his 1916 epic. This thing is quite epic. First off, it's a 2-disc Blu-ray. Let me just show you the back first. And then the spine. Now let me just read off the supplements. You have 2 full features, The Fall of Babylon and Mother-in-Law, accompanied by new scores from the Mont Alto Motion Picture Orchestra. 2013 bonus featurette with Kevin Brownlow, one of the best. New essays by Richard Porton and historian William Drew. Theatrical re-release trailer, and it's a silent film with title cards. Why did I read that? The film is about 168 minutes, this print. And I believe there are longer prints, but this does have some stuff that's not available, and also it's a very good looking print. So some of my, not criticisms, but certain things I have to say about the film may contradict other prints, and that's just the nature of this print. So let me open up this package. This is what it looks like opened up. You got 2 discs, 2 Blu-ray discs. The first disc has the film, the second disc has the supplements, and this is the booklet, a really nice booklet with some very well written, some nice essays. Does it say something about the transfer? No, it does not. It does talk about some members of the cast and the director, of course, the director, and some other interesting tidbits about the production. Let me get into this film because this is going to be a hell of a discussion. When I first came into this, I knew I had to review another Griffith film. I wanted season 1 to end with Birth of a Nation, and I wanted season 2 to end with Intolerance, but I couldn't get the Blu-ray on time. So I decided to review another film, The Big Parade, another fine epic. So I finally have visited another Griffith film. Now, from what I've learned, most people would say that Intolerance is a response to Birth of a Nation for Griffith apologizing. But according to one of the essays provided, that's not the case, because Griffith defied to apologize, and in fact had stated that people who are against who condemned him for his racist views are in of themselves intolerant, which is an interesting view and a very that's a pretty dicey area there. But regardless, don't just view Intolerance as a follow-up to Birth of a Nation. View it as probably one of the biggest epics ever made. This is 4 films. Now, Griffith had made 2 films, Mother-in-Law and The Fall of Babylon. They eventually became their own separate features, but they were intercut into this massive production, which tells 4 stories. One story, The Mother-in-Law, which describes a modern story that talks about reform and, reform and stuff like that, and workers going on strike. Sorry, lost train of thought. The Fall of Babylon story is perhaps the most epic, dealing with the fall of Babylon, dealing with gods and the Persians and the Babylonians. Another story deals with the Huguenots and the Catholics going against them in France in the 1500s. And then we also have the tale of Christ, which is featured in this film, and I don't think I need to explain that much about it. Anyhow, let me just say, the score is fantastic. Carl Davis, as you all know, is one of the finest composers out there, and definitely probably one of the top guys for silent cinema. And as Kevin Brownlow states in his featurette, it's basically a musical representation of what's happening on screen. Like, I can't imagine another score going with this. And I'm sure there are some fine scores out there, but this is a magnificent score by Davis here. Really outdoes himself, especially in the in some of the Babylonian scenes, in my opinion. And the way these scenes are intercut is interesting. You know, we've seen intercut movies after this one. There's been a couple of them. The one I'm going to talk about a little bit is Cloud Atlas. Cloud Atlas is an interesting intercut movie. It's based off of a book by Dave Mitchell, and it tells, I believe, 6 stories in the film version. And I saw that one around the time Hurricane Sandy hit, and I liked it when I saw it, you know, but I want to revisit it, so I'll talk about that another day. But I wanted to bring that up because some people, you know, were, I guess, not drawn to the idea of, like, different timelines and different stories. But the funny thing is, we've been doing it many times, and it's been around almost 100 years with this film. So, this film is rather interesting in its structure. Griffith just decided, I'm just going to do this. And apparently he didn't work with a script, which is amazing because it feels very structured. I'm amazed at how structured it is. And the film is rather exciting, actually. So the strike scenes with, like, the men getting shot at, and the battle scenes in Babylon are incredible. You know, with the giant, like, these giant, like, cannon towers going towards the gates. You have people getting decapitated. Not really getting decapitated, but it's a practical illusion. So it just looks so much more satisfying than today, where we have a CGI decapitation. You know. And I have to say, probably the 2 best and most developed scenes are the mother-in-law and the Fall of Babylon. The Huguenot scene, I really wanted to be more developed, but again, my print may not be as long as other existing prints. I would like to see another print of Intolerance eventually. Maybe I'll discuss it on another video. And then the Christ one is also rather interesting. You get to see Jesus and, you know, basically what led to his crucifixion. So, in terms of another thing I want to mention is that Lillian Gish is in the film as basically the Eternal Mother, rocking the cradle that connects that goes from generation to generation, and she's featured in the film basically doing the same action. And I didn't realize that until I watched the film. I'm like, oh, she doesn't have, like, a big role. She's this character that's throughout the film. That's kind of an interesting way to place her, you know. And speaking of which, the performances, I can't really speak too much of the performances. They're obviously a little over the top because it's the silent era, you know. It's a little mugging for the camera. But that's not the point. The point is, you feel the emotions because the way D.W. Griffith positions the cuts. For example, there is a character who gets killed, or doesn't get killed. He's about to be sent to the gallows, and this correlates with the crucifixion of Christ. That's very powerful stuff. You know, and then you have, like, the Huguenots getting persecuted by the Catholics, and they're all going to get killed off, which is an interesting scene. You connected to that, and then you also have, I mentioned the Babylonians, you know, getting attacked by the Persians, and then you have the Babylonians stab themselves. I know this is a bit of a spoiler, but it's the fall of Babylon, so there's not much to be revealed there. I apologize for spoiling that, but it's just the way he puts the images together that's so compelling. It's not about the performances that are on screen. And I care not because of the story. Like, sometimes when you watch a movie, you care because of the story, but this is one of those films that proves to you that it's not really just about the script. A lot of people like to say, oh, the script is the most important element of a film. And this film kind of says no. and that's not to discredit screenwriters, but the film just proves that, you know, there's more to a movie than just the screenplay. It also has to do with the way you position the camera, where you position it, how you position it, why, what cuts you're making, and that's the most powerful stuff. And there's also just some impressive set and production design in this film, especially in the Babylonian sequences. The scenes of Babylon with the camera, just showcasing that set. If I was a producer on that film, I'd be like, dear mother of God, Griffith, I want to fire you so bad. This thing is huge. How the hell is this ever going to work? And the film obviously did flop. But it's just so grateful you get to see these things on camera. This massive set. You would never get to see it ever again in something like that. You know, today everything's in the computer, which I'm not trying to criticize guys who work with the digital technology. It's just, it's sad to think that you really don't always get the big sets anymore. You know, and there's not much else I can really say except you have to see the film in order to understand what I'm talking about. Just the way the things are cut and positioned, and the way it's just shot, the set design, the costumes, and one more thing with the costumes. I know this is a bit of a ramble, but it's just so much to talk about with this film. The production design on the Huguenot scenes are really astounding, with like the tapestries and the costumes. Really gorgeous stuff. And we also have Griffith's obsession with like animals. You have like a jaguar, shots of a jaguar and doves, and you have a shot of a dog. You know, these shots are a semblance of other things in the story. I just wanted to put that out there as a side note, because I mentioned that in my Birth of a Nation review with some of the animal shots. And that's kind of what interests me with Griffith partially. But like I said, this is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. Without a script, and with the director's clear vision, he's able to take, you know, these people and use them as placeholders for the stories that he wants to tell, and connects them perfectly. This could be argued, this is one of the finest achievements in all of cinema. This thing, I want to revisit this so bad. I was thinking I was going to be like a one and done sort of type of deal. I'm like, I want to see this again. You know, it's so incredible because there's so much to take in with this movie. I have to say, you have to check this out. If you're a fan of cinema or silent cinema, or if you're a Griffith fan, I presume you've already seen this. So check it out now. Next week I shall be reviewing Robin Hood with Douglas Fairbanks for the season 4 premiere of Silent Film Saturday. See you all next week.